Yo, 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 it is your boy, Nice versus Wild, and you're listening to another episode of Beer Wolf Sessions. Thank you for tuning in. Now, I just want to take a moment and just say how thankful and blessed and grateful I am to be able to record this session this week. If you don't know, me doing these sessions every single Monday is genuinely my happy place, and I hope that you can find joy and fulfillment going into your week, into your month, into your year, listening to these episodes and showing up for yourself, for your craft, for your creative outlet, for your venture, for your community, for your family, for yourself. It honestly means the world to me. This session is going to be a little bit different, that's for sure, because as you know, these Beer Wolf sessions are a 7-day reflective diary, journal story that I write in my diary each week that I learn, and I share the insights with you, and hopefully you can catch some learnings as I go in my own journey as well. I'm going to be honest, all right? As you know, I was meant to run a marathon actually on Sunday, but that didn't end up happening. And it was because on Saturday night around 8:30, I felt a little bit sick. To be honest, I was just on the computer. My resting heart rate raced up to 150 beats. And that usually never happens. And I freaked out and went to the hospital. Went to my partner first, and she was like, okay, I think we need to go to the hospital. We rushed to the hospital. They did some blood tests, ECGs, stuff like that, try to figure out what's going on with my heart. And I didn't do the run on Sunday, and these things happen, right? Life throws surprises at us. And I remember going up to the counter at that emergency hospital. My mum and dad still don't know. Hopefully they don't listen to this episode, because I just don't want them to worry. But honestly, I went up to that counter in that emergency hospital, and I started to think about, all the things that I'm doing, all the things I'm striving for. And is it really, am I spending my time in the right places? And I started to, started to think about and prioritize things in my head that I'm doing. And it's weird while this was happening. And I'm glad I did and are doing the things that I'm doing. And I was genuinely proud of myself for doing it. And I think it made me realize, we don't really know how many heartbeats we've got left. And I remember going into that hospital and I was shaking. And I've never really felt like that before. And I remember I stayed there for like 6-7 hours on that Saturday. And just thinking about how I've lived my life and the things that I've done and the things I'm striving for. And there was moments where I was like, man, if this is it, will I be fully content? And to be honest, I was. And I don't know what it was, but I felt like that it was like a reset reminder. And I'm just so happy to be here today and be able to record this session. I remember leaving the hospital and the doctors were like, it looks like it's a vicious virus, because I've been quite sick ever since coming back from the States. It could be a vicious virus. It could be a COVID vaccine side effect related. They're still trying to figure it out in terms of what it could be. I've got a couple more tests this week, just waiting on the results. So let's just see where the results sort of take us. But I just wanted to sort of take the time out and just be real with you and just remind you, like, every single week isn't perfect. And, life can change in an instant. 1 minute you could feel like you're on top of the world. Next minute you could literally be in the ER. And these things happen, and it's scary, and it was very traumatic, and it was very terrifying for me because, I always talk about, my mission in life is to inspire the next generation, create impact, and also really tell a story that beats longer than my heart. And on that Saturday night, I was terrified for my heart. But deep down, I still felt like, I'd lived the life that I was striving for. And if that was it, at least I tried. And I think whatever craft, whatever journey you're on at the moment, I really want you to think about that. You genuinely, if you're unhappy right now in a position or an environment, just I'm just being honest with you. Like nobody knows how many heartbeats they have left. And I encourage you to make the most of those seconds that you have with your loved ones, those conversations, those relationships, because you could have all the time in the world, but if you're never present, is the time really valuable? And I think that's a big point. So yeah, that's a bit of my story. The last 7 days has been a little bit crazy, but yeah, let's get into my jot notes that I made in my diary this week, and hopefully I can share some insights. I did write some stuff while I was at the hospital, so here we go. If this is your first time listening, sorry for that dramatic story, but it's just obviously been a different sort of time for me as I recover. But if this is your first time listening, my name is Nigel Shishil. I am a full-time creative entrepreneur from South Auckland. I was born in a rural Fijian village called Lambasa, Bonileka, and my mission in life is to write a story that beats longer than my heart. That feels good this week, I can tell you that. Now, number one point I wrote in my diary this week was, stay true always. Even if you don't get to where you're going, get the no's, get the rejections, stay true to what you care about and your values and your conversations and your relationships. Because a lot of times we live in a world where people genuinely sometimes struggle to tell the truth because, there's this saying that people lie to save themselves, not others. And I think that's true, right? If you can live your life speaking the truth about the things that you care about, or the truth in the person that you are, even if you're a straight shooter and people don't accept you for it, at least you lived a life telling the truth. And I think there's so much value in that. Even if it's a longer road that you're going to take, at least you didn't sell out. At least you stayed true to what you wanted in your dreams, your ambitions, the person you truly wanted to be. And I think there's a lot of strength in that. Like, even in this high, fast-paced world that we're living in, I encourage you to stay true. And stay true with your intentions and your ideas, your business, and value that. Because a lot of times we sometimes try take shortcuts or try take an easier route by maybe telling a lie or telling a fake story or something like that. But I think if we stay true, the people that will resonate, that need to resonate, will always resonate, that matter at that time. So don't sell yourself a shortcut for an easy outcome, when it's easier to be in the process of speaking your truth and saying the truth and going into the grave being truthful than dying as a liar. There you have it. So that was number one point I wrote in my diary this week. So second point I wrote in my diary this week was, be the student of the game that you're playing. Don't ever think and become the master, or think you're the master or a professional or whatever you want to call it. Because when you're a student, and I think I've done this quite well, like I try to do this actually on a regular basis, is I always play the student. In anything new or anything that I've done or have had experience in, is I always play the student. And if you keep doing that, you're always going to be learning. But as soon as you move away from the student mindset, you start to get complacent and you stop learning, right? So always be the student in the game. When you walk into the room and you see everybody trying to be a teacher, just be the student. Because you already know what you already know, right? But I think if you can be the student for long periods of time, in the long run, you are going to be the master learner. And if you can be the learner and fuel that energy inside of you and have that mindset, there's going to be times where you're going to be able to take in so much more for the better than when you start to become and start to think that you've mastered a craft. So little point I sort of made in my diary this week: always stay a student. And I think there's a lot of learnings in that, to be honest. The other thing I wrote here is point number 4 is discipline is not a punishment nor an obligation. Discipline is practice of devotion. Discipline is not a punishment nor a obligation. Discipline is practice of devotion. You have that control. Discipline will set you up to have the right devotion towards your why. Simple as that. Just focus your energy on whatever you're trying to do and whatever intentions you're trying to set. And I think as long as you stay true, you stay a student, and you create that devotion towards your craft, discipline will 100% follow, as long as you have a good enough why that helps you to get out of bed every single day. Now, the last point I wrote, and I think I kind of spoke about it already in my story, obviously the traumatic events of heading to the hospital, but I think this is probably the number one point that I learned this week is you can have all the time in the world, but if you are never present, is it really valuable? And I know for me personally, I've spoken about, time is the most valuable thing. Time is the most valuable thing. And I think, what happened on Saturday night of me going to the hospital made me realize is maybe time isn't the most important thing. Maybe the most important thing is understanding that the time you have doesn't matter if you're never really present. How valuable is time to you right now? If you're always in a rush to go somewhere, and I think it's always been about the connections, the relationships that bring us the most amount of fulfillment in our lives, and the connections and the communities that we create. It's never about that individual recognition or the status. And I've talked about it in a lot of episodes. But I think, even for me, I've made the mistake of saying, time's the most valuable thing, time's the most valuable thing. But really, if we go back to understanding time is not valuable if we're never present. The value is only obtained with the actions of presence in an environment. And the value can only be justified by the output of your presence and your attention. Or it's just time ticking. And that's it. So I want to leave you with that. Think about the environment that you're in, and I just want to take the time and just while I'm recording this session and just say, like, even in this room, I'm so happy to be here and be able to record this session this week, and just be so blessed to be able to like just show up consistently, and I hope you all the health and the wealth. And thank you for listening every single episode. This has been a different episode for me compared to even last week's episode. And I think, experiences in our life can change our perspectives towards a lot of things. And I think we really need to value, the time and the heartbeat and the seconds that we have with each other, and really go after not only our ambitions and our dreams, but also keep our loved ones and connections even closer. So while you've been listening to every single Beowulf episode, after this episode, all I want you to do is call your grandma, call your mom, call your dad, call your girlfriend, call your partner. Just spend some time with your loved ones and just tell them how much they mean to you and how much impact they've had in your life. And I think you're going to be winning in life, to be honest. That's all you need to do. Thank you for listening to this Beowulf session. Shout out to Feature Weddings for sponsoring this episode. Fully forgot about Feature Weddings today. Really appreciate it. If you've been liking listening to every single episode, chuck us a review. Chuck me a message. Means the world. The message, the comments, the reviews, honestly keeps me going and keeps me connected with you and make sure I'm talking about the right things as well. And honestly, like, just quick reflection, just so everyone knows, we talked about, staying a student, always in the game, always speak the truth. Discipline is the practice of devotion towards your craft. And time only matters if you're truly present. That's the points. That's the diaries of this week. That's it. Keep being a wolf. Keep being a wolf. Keep going. Let's go. Peace and love.